The Call from Obscurity, the first 46 years.
This is the story of a little girl who all of her life yearned only to become little, very little. But it is also the story of a strong, tall woman, a spiritual giant of her time and of ours. This is the story of Saint Jeanne Jugan.
She was born October 25th, 1792, 191 miles due west of Paris in the fishing village of Cancale, on the northern French coast where the English Channel meets the Celtic Sea.
The Jugan family and all of the residents of Cancale knew a hard life, for they lived and died by the sea. In good times, Cancale was called the oyster capital of all Brittany.
But all too often, Cancale was a grieving place when the cold Celtic Sea and her monstrous storms claimed her toll of lives from among Cancale's seafarers.
And so it was, on a morning in April 1796, that 4-year-old Jeanne's father went to sea in his boat, never to return. We don't know why the tragic events of life lead some people to irreconcilable despair, but others to unfathomable greatness. Despite the darkness of death, a light of faith shone in the Jugan household and in the surrounding community. And in that light, a child's heart grew and prospered in such virtue that it would one day reach out to thousands of men and women who in sundry ways were also victims of shipwreck along life's shore. In her youth, Jeanne Jugan was attracted to the spirituality of Saint John Eudes, who had lived a century earlier in Normandy, France. As a young priest, Saint John devoted his life to caring for the physical and spiritual needs of marginalized women. John Eudes' spirituality permanently shaped Jeanne Jugan. As a young woman, she committed herself as a lay member of his society to help span the gap that separates the physically and spiritually poor from their God-given rights as his children.
Jeanne was courted by a young man of Cancale, but when he asked for her hand in marriage, she said no. Later, her mother asked why she had refused a life of marital joy, and she said,
"God wants me for himself. He is keeping me for a work which is still unknown."
This pivotal event in the life of Jeanne Jugan occurred in 1816, when she was 23 years old. Her life would more than double in years before she would begin to understand the prophetic meaning of her own words. Much more formation of the heart of young Jeanne Jugan was in store. And with those words of submission to God's will, "God wants me for himself," a new phase of her equipping began. The time to leave Cancale had arrived.
Take, oh, take me as I am. Summon out what I shall be. Set your seal upon my heart and live in me. Take, oh, take me as I am. Summon
In 1817, at the age of 24, Jeanne Jugan left her mother and her village to become a hospital nurse's maid in Saint-Servan, a larger seafaring town 8 miles away. 7 years later, now 31, she left her hospital work to become the personal maid of a wealthy single woman who had befriended her. The woman's name was Mademoiselle Lecoq. In this working friendship, Jeanne Jugan learned the social graces of the wealthy, a mighty tool she would one day use in her begging for the poor.
11 wonderful years of holy friendship passed. The two women made it their daily practice to visit the elderly and infirm near their home. But then, in 1835, God called Mademoiselle Lecoq to himself. Death of a loved one was again a crossroad in Jeanne Jugan's life. First her father, and now a dear friend. She was 42 years old. She was alone. She could either learn to fend for herself in some other way, or listen to that still, small voice of the beloved within, calling her to a work which was still unknown. The stage was set. God was calling her to become total gift of self for the other.
My lover is like a gazelle or a young stag. Here he stands behind our walls, gazing through the windows, peering through the lattices. My lover speaks. He says to me,
"Arise, my beloved, my beautiful one, and come. The flowers bloom on the earth, the time to prune the vines has come, and the song of the dove is heard in the land. The fig tree puts forth its figs, and the vines in blossom put forth fragrance. Arise, my beloved, my beautiful one, and come."
Arise, my beloved,